Coming to you from downtown Toronto, Canada. I am about to leave for Montreal, but let me get this video in. As we continue to have a lot of people very concerned about the supercharger business, as I mentioned yesterday, please keep in mind that while this is going to be a very substantial business someday, maybe even reaching maybe 100 billion in sales and maybe 25 billion or so in profits, pre-tax profits. It'll still be a very small business compared to the other much larger businesses of Tesla, and it may not even reach those levels. But I think it's still a very big business. Somebody suggested yesterday, well, wouldn't it have been a better thing rather than slow it down and change it up and whatever, fire all these people? Wouldn't it have been better for Tesla to just to spin off this division? Sounds familiar. I think I've been talking about that for almost the entire time I've been on this doing this broadcast. I think that the supercharger network could be spun off. I think it'd be a great idea. Maybe it's still premature to do that, but I'm not 100% sure exactly what the timing might be, but I think it's worth way more to the public market than it is right now to Tesla. And in the future will be even worth less to Tesla in terms of the overall business. Other people have another opinion on that. I'm not the only one. Let me know in the comments below, but let me talk to you a little bit more about the decision process, what's going on. Um, Number one, Tesla, we know this is the good news. Tesla has a massive advantage of the other car companies due to their huge infrastructure. And they've created this not just in the US, but in Europe and China and Australia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty much every place that they're selling cars, they've gone in and created an infrastructure that's large enough and spread out in the right way, putting up the necessary supercharger pumps, so that people can get around in that particular country. And they've done an amazing job. I don't see even the Tesla Q people don't talk about the supercharger network because it's an amazing deal. Not only are the stations nicer, not only are there more pumps at each station, pumps, there's a name, I forget the name we're calling those things. The process is seamless. You just plug it in and then put it back and your charge card gets charged and the whole thing. The units have, as you know, 99% uptime. Rare exceptions where there's any problems. I mean, they just work beautifully and flawlessly. Now, you start firing a bunch of people, maybe there would be a reduction in that part of it. But Elon said, no, we intend to make that still our focus is going to be making sure we have great uptime and a great experience for the customers. So, in my opinion, in those countries we're talking about, the or continents, if you will, the United States, Canada, Europe, China, the other countries, Vietnam, Australia, et cetera, where the Tesla is now doing business, I'm going to say they've got enough stations in order to supply the needs of the customers when they're traveling. They've got enough units in those stations, especially in places like downtown areas where people don't charge at home and have to come in and charge at the station. They have enough units, but they will continue to increase the number of units. That's what Elon said, as necessary in those particular locations if they see that they're running into not enough supply for the demand. So it seems to me like a very smart plan. Why do you need to put in more stations when you've already got them spaced at exactly the way that you need them? As I've said on this channel before, I was even able to get to a station without difficulty. There was two within about a 45-minute drive when I was in the center of Death Valley. Anyway, number two, the system is tied to our navigation screens, and therefore we have no problems finding locations with no waiting. We can tell whether there's waiting or whether there's any problem in terms of this location, and maybe we go to the next location. Sometimes you might even have to go back 5 miles if you really want the fastest charging, but I think that hasn't happened to me in years. Number three, other car companies are depending on the third-party systems up till now, but they've recently agreed to adopt the NACS, and they are now worried about the future of the Tesla system. Well, that is their problem, not Tesla's, not Elon's. If they want to take care of their customers, they need to make sure they take care of their customers. Now, I think Elon is not he doesn't have a lack of concern about that. I think he wants to make sure that this system works for everybody. But do you need more stations to do that, or do you just need more units at the stations that we already have? And I'm going to say, I think that to the extent that there are spaces, gaps in the layout of the country, you maybe between this station and that station, it's 150 miles, and so you need one in the middle. I think they'll fill those in. He didn't say they're not going to continue to do more stations, just not as many, not as quickly. All right, so some Tesla consumers and stockholders are always also worried about the future expansion. Well, don't forget, Tesla batteries are going to get better and better at fast charging. That's going to reduce the time at the stall. Therefore, that's going to increase the capacity of the existing infrastructure. Elon has said that there will be new units added, as I said, to existing facilities. So more stations, but not as fast. Okay, the U.S. government, by the way, and states, okay, are in the process of adding new stations. You've heard about this, right? Yeah. So, in their wisdom, they're not giving this to the lowest bidder in every case. In their wisdom, they're carving out 70%. In most cases that I've seen, 70% goes to companies that didn't get the lowest bid. Have you ever heard of a bidding system like that in your life? Only the government could come up with something like that, because of course Tesla would have won all the bids. Okay, if they have the lowest bid, they should win all the bids. If their product works the best and is the lowest price, they should win all the bids. So is that Elon's fault that the U.S. government is acting so slowly to put the rest of these units in place that are not Tesla? Oh, probably some of these other charging stations will actually have working units, and they will provide additional capacity to the system as these other companies start selling more and more cars. Number 5, charging methods may be changing, especially with regard to inductive charging. We're starting to see more stuff coming up about inductive charging, and especially with regard to the robotaxi fleet. I suspect that is going to be inductive. I could be wrong. And I don't think the robotaxi fleet, the Tesla-owned fleet, is going to charge at the regular charging stations necessarily. Maybe they will. Number 6, Elon has surveyed the landscape and determined that Tesla can build what they think is appropriate without this large team that they had in place. There you go. That's the bottom line. The profits of this division, while important, will be a tiny piece of Tesla's future. Let me know in the comments below. What did I say wrong? By the way, this is Randy Kirk. I haven't said that in days because I'm on vacation. And I think most of you already know who I am. And I'd like for you to hit like, subscribe, and notify. Later today, there will be a Scott Wolter video. You're going to want to watch that. Yesterday, of course, we had Brian White. I'm so far been able to keep up most of those midday interviews, which I think most of you like the best when I'm not on by myself. Anyway, thank you for the numbers while I've been on the road. Very, very good support. It probably has nothing to do with anything other than there's a lot of news right now. Okay, speaking of a lot of news, let's now go look at the economic news. The numbers. This is from Market Watch. U.S. businesses, according to ADP, created 192,000 new jobs in April, and more industries hired people last month in a sign of ongoing labor market strength. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had expected 183, came in at 192. The ADP payroll estimate showed somewhat slower job creation compared to last year, but hiring was very robust. The ADP estimate is not an accurate predictor of the government's official employment report, which is going to follow on Friday, but they do move in the same direction over time, according to Market Watch. The government on Friday is expected to report 240,000 new jobs were created in April, according to a Wall Street Journal poll, which would be a very strong number, as you know. Okay, key details. Market Watch says ADP said most of the new jobs were created at big and medium-sized companies. Small businesses were lagging behind. That is because the big businesses are grabbing all the people, and the small business people continue to say, we can't find qualified people. Hotels and restaurants led the way, adding 56,000 jobs as they geared up for summer season. Americans are spending a lot of money on leisure and hospitality. Construction companies, healthcare providers, and trade and transportation also reported solid increases. Hiring was broad-based. The only industry to show a decline, in fact, was media companies. The increase in employment in April was revised up to 208 from 184,000. Shouldn't that be the headline? That's a lot. That's 24,000 more jobs than were reported. ADP even is, having these problems with getting their numbers wrong on these employment data. Anyway, this is now Fed Day. This is not going to help Fed. This is not going to help the Fed. They're dealing with something that looks like stagflation. I believe it is stagflation. The economy is growing. It is growing, but it's growing very meekly now. And at the same time, inflation is not going away. So that is stagflation. In fact, I'm now 30% certain that we will have a recession in the third quarter. So what is the Fed going to do? They can't jump ahead of the game when they get these kind of employment numbers. No way in the world there's going to be a cut anytime soon. In fact, I continue to believe there will be no cuts this year. That is now, in my opinion, off the table. Now, there could be a massive, again, these things change so fast. We could see a big drop in employment at some point. We can see the consumer just put their hand, because the consumer confidence numbers were horrible yesterday. We can see consumers throwing their hands in their pocket and saying, I'm done. I can't spend anymore. Certainly can't buy a car. Certainly can't buy stuff for my brand new house that I just bought. I got the house, but now I can't buy the couch. That could happen. It could happen, and it could happen really overnight. So that doesn't mean that we couldn't see a recession followed by disinflation, and then eventually the Fed starting to jump in. But typically that is going to take months, not, the decision by the Fed is not going to be over 1 month of data. That's what they've said before, unless, of course, they see that the trend is extreme and that they feel like they need to jump in faster. I don't think that's this Fed. All right, let's take a look at the numbers this morning. We'll start off with Tesla, of course, and see what they're doing this morning in the market. Last I heard, they were down. Let's see. Tesla is down $2. Not bad at all. Dow Jones up 115. NASDAQ down 47. S&P down 6. We've got Apple down 87 cents. We've got the rest of the Magnificent Seven mixed with NVIDIA down 17. Which is the one that is down the most. Not sure on a percentage basis. Well, let's look at the Cathie Woods. The Cathie Woods are also mixed. We have got the percentages are the Dow is down 0.3. I'm sorry, up. So sorry. I'm not green, red colorblind, really. The Dow is up 0.3. NASDAQ down almost the same, 0.27. S&P down 0.09. Tesla down 1.27. Apple down 0.7. They got earnings coming up on Thursday. And then we've got, I'm sorry, here we go. NVIDIA down 2.17. So NVIDIA getting slammed pretty hard overall recently. All right, let's go on and look at what's happened with those bonds. Just a second here. And let's go to the bonds. Okay, bonds this morning. The bonds are retreating, down 3.9 basis points on the 10-year. We have got the 2-year, same, roughly 3.4 basis points down, and we've got the 2-month down 0.3 of a basis point. So what you're basically looking at here is that the bond market right now is saying we may have overstated what's going to happen with the Fed today. Boy, I'm surprised. Anyway, 10-year is now at 4.645. Let's go on to oil. We have got oil sitting at down 1.3, down to $80 on Texas Intermediate, $85 on Brent. That is a big drop since yesterday. So wow, that's huge. Down from almost 90 to 85 on Brent. Big, that was like yesterday. Natural gas also down 2.36%. Remember, it was just barely creeping over 2. Now it's back down under to $1.94. We have got the gold up $9 this morning at 2003.12. So maybe that's the start of an advance in gold. I'm not sure why that would be gold. I'm not sure why. Copper down, still sitting at 4.523. You have got the dollar mixed, but nearing a 6-month high again. So I guess trending up, but not strongly this morning. Then you've got Bitcoin down 2271 at 57,546. The halving has not have I was going to make a pun, but I can't. Okay, so it's down. Wow, the Bitcoin is down a lot. All right, that is all except for going back again and checking on Tesla to see if it's moving. Moving. It is moving. It is now only down 95 cents. So moving toward the green. Everything seems to be moving toward the green. I'm not sure why. The ADP numbers would suggest the economy doing better than what we heard a couple of days ago with the consumer confidence numbers. So is the market saying we like the fact, although is the market saying we like the fact that the economy is doing better, even if that means no Fed cuts because we weren't figuring any Fed cuts anyway? Oh, I don't know. I'm confused. All right. So as mentioned earlier, there will be a Scott Walter video later this morning, 11 o'clock exactly, because I've scheduled it, 11 o'clock California time. And yesterday we did have a great time with Brian White. I'll leave with the card right here so you can go take a look at that. Okay, time for me to go have my breakfast and get on the road up here in lovely Canada. It has been great talking to you.